And this is one of those texts. And the reason it is called the Evernew tongue, as I will share, is because of the Apostle Philip. I'm going to begin with verse 9. The sages of the Hebrews answered and said, let us know from thee thy name and thy substance and thy appearance. Somewhat was heard, the Evernew tongue spake with an angelic voice. Not tiare, etc., that is, among the tribes of the earth in sooth I was born, and of the conception of man and woman I have been conceived. This is my name, Philip the apostle. The Lord sent me to the tribes of the heathen to preach to them. 9 times hath my tongue been cut out of my head by the heathen, and 9 times I continued to preach again. Wherefore this is my name with the household of heaven, the Evernew tongue. And so you can see that the Apostle Philip, his tongue was cut out 9 times and it grew back, and he was able to continue preaching the gospel. And so the angels in heaven call him the Evernew tongue. But this will set the premise for why I'm bringing forth this book to you. It says, the sages of the Hebrews spake, let us know from thee what language thou speakest unto us. I said that there is the speech of angels, quoth he, and the language which I speak to you is that of all the ranks of heaven. As to beasts and the sea and reptiles and quadrupeds and birds and snakes and demons, they know it, and this is the language which all will speak at the judgment. This then is what has driven me to you, to explain to you the wondrous tale which the Holy Ghost declared through Moses, son of Amram, of the creation of the heaven and the earth with all that exists therein. For 'tis of the making of heaven and earth that tale tells, even so, and of the formation of the world, which has been affected by Christ's resurrection from the dead on this eve of Easter. For every material and every element and every nature which is seen in the world were all combined in the body in which Christ arose, that in the body of every human being. In the first place is the matter of wind and air. Hence came to pass the affiliation of breath in the bodies of men. Then there is the matter of heat and boiling from fire. 'Tis this that makes the red heat of blood in bodies. Then there is the matter of the sun and the other stars of heaven. And 'tis this that makes color and light in the eye of men. Then there is the matter of bitterness and saltiness, and 'tis that which makes the bitterness of tears, and the gall of the liver, and abundance of wrath in the hearts of men. Then there is the matter of the stones and of the clay of earth, and 'tis this that makes the mingling of flesh and bone and limbs in human beings. Then there is in the matter of the flowers and beautiful hues of earth, and 'tis this that makes the variegation and whiteness of the faces and the color in cheeks. All right, it is this verse which begins the description of the cosmology. All the world arose with him, for the nature of all the elements dwelt in the body which Jesus assumed. For unless the Lord has suffered on behalf of Adam's race, and unless he had arisen after death, the whole world, together with Adam's race, would be destroyed at the coming of doom. And no creature of sea or land would be reborn, but the heavens, as far as the third heaven, would blaze, save only 3 heavens of the high, welkin none would abide without burning. There would be neither earth nor kindred alive or dead. In the world, only hell and heaven had not the Lord come to ransom them. All would have perished thus without renewal. For this, says Philip, I have come unto you that I may declare to you these tidings. For obscure to you is the making of the form of the world, as it hath been recounted of old. Well then, says the sages of the Hebrew, relate to us some of the innumerable wonders which have happened there. For it is dark to us unless it is be diligently declared to us. Somewhat was heard the Evernew tongue which spake in the language of the angels, saying, Laudi, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and it is saith, Ambilban, slow it were to recount through the Hebrew all that is there uttered, that there was no ordering of the colors, that there was no earth with its mountains and its tribes, nor sea with its islands, nor hell with its torrents before. He said that these elements should exist, that there were no circuits of the seven heavens, nor clouds to irrigate the earth, nor spark, nor dispersal of storms, that there were no lands whereon they would pour, that there was neither rain nor snow, that there were neither lightnings nor blast of wind nor thunders, that there were no lands whereon they would pour, that there was neither rain nor snow, that there were neither lightnings nor blast of wind nor thunders, that there were neither courses of the sun, nor vicissitude of moon, nor variation of stars, that there were no marine monsters, that there was no sea in which they would swim, that there was no streams, nor herds, nor beasts, nor birds, nor dragons, nor serpents. The sages of the Hebrews answered, a query, what was there at that time, since that nothing he has hitherto mentioned existed? The Evernew tongue answered, every creature was with a marvel, to wit God without beginning, without end, without sorrow or age or decay. There was no hour, nor time, nor space that he existed not. He is not younger or older now that at first. There was nothing that was hard for him to do, but he thought a thought, and to that thought there was no beginning. He thought of somewhat nobler that his power might be seen and his dignity indescribable that was not in any other things, although he himself was it. Suddenly, then after the thought, he created light. This was the light he created, to wit, the circuit of the celestial vault, with 9 ranks of angels. 70 was their number of tribes, with 624 sunny plains, with melodies and beautiful colors such as are upon the 7 shapes of the celestial vault. So in the same day he made the circuit of the shapes, to wit the matter whereof the world was fashioned. For of the shape of the world God first made the shape of a round circle. So here again, the circle of the earth as described in Isaiah. So is this book describing that everything, even the heavens, the vault of the dome, the circle of the earth, they were made in this round wheel shape, as you will see as I continue. Then said the sages of the Hebrews, tell us now diligently what arrangements are in the universe, for we are in ignorance and darkness concerning every one of them. The Evernew tongue answered, though ye see it not, tis in roundness everything created has been cast, according to the shape of the world. For 'tis in circularity of roundness the heavens have been made round about, and in circularity the 7 seas have been made, and in circularity the earth has been made, and in circularity of roundness the stars traverse the round wheel of the universe. All right, we'll pick it up when we return. All right, welcome back everybody for final segment. Again, this particular text that I am reading from, it is called the Evernew tongue. which even looking for it on the internet, it will be very difficult to find. In many of the Irish biblical apocryphal books that I have purchased to looking for the full document of this story, I've noticed that many of them only print a partial accounting. I want you to know, however, that I did publish it in full in the very last chapter of Paradise, of my new book on Paradise. And you can find it because it's so profound and it covers the creation in a manner that has not been explained anywhere else that I've seen. Of course, Job, there's hints of the creation and the establishment of it in Job, and also the book of Enoch. But in this particular text, the Apostle Philip takes you through every aspect of the creation from nothingness. Well, there was never nothing. There was always the Godhead, the Holy Trinity. And it is from them as source and force for all things that the creation manifests. And stepping in down in vibration from light came to be what we see in density as the material world. And this dimensionality, the third dimensional time space where we see light as solid objects and taking on the shape of the world. But anyways, I'm going to continue because I want to try to share as much of this book as I can before we reach the end of the show. But as I said, you can find it in the very last chapter of the Paradise book. The verse that I'm reading from is 18, and it is this passage that is so very deeply profound because, again, it describes not only the earth being established in this circular rotundity, but even the circuits of the stars, and the seven concentric heavens where the seven planets, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter, all reside in circuit. And so I'm going to read this verse again. It says, "Then said the sages of the Hebrews, tell us now diligently what arrangements are in the universe, for we are in ignorance and darkness concerning every one of them. The Evernew tongue answered, though ye see it not, it 'tis in roundness everything created has been according to the shapes of the world. For 'tis in circularity of roundness the heavens have been made round about, and in circularity the seven seas have been made, and in circularity the earth has been made, and in circularity of roundness the stars traverse the round wheel of the universe. And in roundness of form the souls are seen after issuing from the bodies. And in roundness is seen the circuit of the high celestial vault. And in roundness is seen the orbit of the sun and moon. Reasonable is all that, for circular without beginning or end is the Lord, who hath ever been, who will ever be, and who made all those things. Therefore the world has been embodied in a round shape." Said the Hebrew populace, "A question, what was there in the round multiform circuit which was the material of the universe? The Evernew tongue answered, there was, it said, in the orbital circuit the material of the universe, to wit, cold and heat, light and darkness, heavy and weightless, wet and dry, high and low, bitterness and mildness, strength and feebleness, roaring sea and noise of thunder, odor of flowers, chant of angels, and pillars of fire. All these then were in the round multiform cloud which was made of the material of the universe. And 'tis there that the stuff of hell was produced. For hell was not made at once, not until the archangel transgressed God's will and forsook the law of the king who had created him, together with the innumerable crowd of the angels. Till then, hell was not made, but its material was stored away in the round, multiform mass out of which the universe was separated, with all the kindreds which exist therein. And if the angels whose sin had remained in the nature in which they had been created, and in the angelic radiance, the material of hell would have been turned into a beautiful bright kingdom, like unto the kingdom of the holy angels. And so, did you get that? He is basically telling them that if the archangel had not rebelled, and the 1/3 of the angels that joined him in insurrection had not transgressed and turned away from serving the Most High God, everything would have been a beauty. And hell, which was created for the angels, would never have come about in existence, because all things would have been of radiance as paradise and as the kingdom above. But because of the transgression, because of the rebellion and the war in heaven, the earth and Sheol were created in order to accommodate that rebellion. And as it says in Psalms 82, that ye are the sons of God, but ye shall die the death of men and fall like one of the princes. It's speaking about Lucifer and the rebel angels which joined them, because when they were cast out, that's when death was brought into being, because it was to Lucifer and the rebel angels that the sentence of death was levied upon them, that they would die the death of man, as it says in Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, that both of those chapters described how, and do describe how, Lucifer, the adversary of man, will die the death of a man, and that at the end he will be destroyed as if he had never been. This is why he is known as the angel of death, because it was his rebellion that brought death into being. And when he tricked Adam and Eve and caused them to fall from paradise, they joined him in being born, incarnated into this world of duality. And it is that sentence which has been levied upon all of us as well. And it is Christ coming into the flesh, dying on the cross, defeating death, and descending down into Sheol and freeing Adam and the rest of the righteous that were there in being held, that death was defeated, and that Christ rectified the fall and redeemed us to himself. And this is where we are given choice that believing in the cross and believing in him, we are now all given chance for an eternity with him. Not just the millennial reign, but salvation forevermore with him and an eternal kingdom. All right, I'm going to continue reading here. This then is the work of the first day on which God began the making of the world. Although it had been written, he that liveth forever created all things at the same time. God also made the firmament between the waters and divided the waters which were above the firmament from those that were below the firmament. Then on the second day, God made the wall of the seven heavens round about with the heavenly waters. For the Lord knew when he created the world that man would transgress the commandment which was declared to him. Therefore, the veil of heaven has been set over against the faces and eyes of men, so that they might not see the blessedness of heaven and the throne of God. The firmament, the vaulted dome of the earth, it separates God's throne, the heavenly kingdom, and paradise from the world of man. That we are currently residing under the vaulted dome, where we learn through the duality of good and evil, light and darkness, pain and pleasure. But if we are counted and numbered among the elect, we will reside with him in New Jerusalem, which currently right now is at the third heaven. But at the end of days, as it says in Revelation 20, and as I covered in last night's show, New Jerusalem will descend out of the skies and be brought here to the earth. And it will be here on the earth that paradise will reign, and we, those that are worthy, will be numbered to live in the millennial kingdom in New Jerusalem for what will be the 1,000 years of the seventh day, the Sabbath rest. Continuing, the populace of the Hebrews asked, point out to us the hidden natures and the mysteries of the seven heavens and the five zones that surround them. The Evernew tongue answered, the seven heavens ensued around the world as to which ye ask are first the radiant, bright, cloudy heaven which is nearest to you, where out shines the moon and the scattering of stars. Over this two gleaming, flamy heavens with, and it's fragmented here, of angels in them an outbreak of winds. Over these is a cold, icy heaven, bluer than any beautiful color, and 7 times colder than snow, out of which shines the sun. 2 other gleaming, flaming heavens on these, where outshine the fiery stars that put fruitfulness into clouds and sea. A high heaven, fiery, splendid, is above these. 'Tis the highest of them all, on which the circuit of the welkin has been set. A sunny and fiery heaven is that wherein there are labor at harmony of melodies and choirs of angels. Now in the zones of the 7 heavens are hidden the 12 shaking beasts, with the fiery heads above them in their heavenly bodies. They blow 12 winds about the world. In the same zones, too, sleep the dragons with breaths of fire, dragons tower-headed, with diseases on them in their flanks, who bring forth the crash of the thunders and blow lightnings from pupils of eyes. Thus traverse, he says, the zones round the heaven, and the heaven hath 7 circuits round about the earth. a frigid icy zone in the first place by which seas go down under the convexities of the heaven to the north. Here's a description of the north again. Because it is also in the north that Oceanus, which has its origin beneath the roots of the tree of life in the third heaven, that its waters are there purified. And it is these waters, these living waters, which spread from the throne of the Most High God and then descend down through the windows of heaven to our realm, and as the clouds and as dew and moisture feed the land and nourish all the creatures and all the plants with the living waters that are basically like the blood of Christ. Another cold, icy zone which unites the beasts of the sea under seas and under the sides of the earth. To the south is the place where the 9 fiery pillars were put, to the south of heaven supporting it. A splendid zone, the great flame of the world's assembly, which nourishes many fruits of the earth, so that it rises around the world on its breast to the west. 2 beautiful, mild zones, which are the arenas of the animals that give cold and heat, and which cast abundance of diseases to the flanks of the earth on every side. On the third day, God made lakes and many seas and many kinds of water and many forms of salt seas, and the circuit of the earth with its plains. And its mountains, and its forests, and its precious stones, and its many kinds of trees. And so you can see again, on the third day, the dry land was lifted above sea level. And it is this sea level which all of the oceans of the world come together in unison, are joined together in the ocean's basin, which, like a bathtub or a sink, holds all the waters, collects and holds all the waters of the world together. And then the land which is raised and elevated above that, that is the land that we inhabit. The sages of the Hebrew asked, "Tell us the many kindreds and secrets of the sea." The Evernew tongue replied, "In sooth," he says, "there are 3 waters of sea around the world, to wit, first, a sea with 7 shapes under the flanks of the earth." The Evernew tongue replied, "In sooth," he says, "first, a sea with 7 shapes under the flanks of the earth, against which hell makes a mighty noise, and against which it rains. It raises a cry round the valley, an ocean green and luminous round about the earth on every side, which brings forth flood and ebb, and which casts up many fruits." It's, in my opinion, just like Job and Enoch described at the very center of the northern plain, this whirlpool which every 6 hours sucks in all the ocean currents, all the waters of the world, and then 6 hours later spews them out in geyser. And that it's this tidal rhythm, this swallowing of the world's oceans and then spewing them out, which caused the tides, the tidal rhythm of what we see ebb and flow. And that this is what is being described here, because as it said in the stories of Odysseus on Charybdis that I read a few shows back, they describe Charybdis as a sea monster, this whirlpool that sucking in all the waters of the ocean, that it reverses course, and it is what causes the tidal rhythms. And that's why it's not the moon and its gravitational attraction which is causing the tides, but this particular um, giant whirlpool at the center of the Earth's plane. It supposedly surrounds the mount of the congregation, and you know is what causes and descends into the earth. All right, I'm gonna continue. I know we're running out of time. And which casts up many fruits. Then there is the third water, to wit, a flamy sea. Out of the heavens are let 9 winds, which arouse it from its sleep. 470 melodies its waves sing after it has been awakened. It makes a noise like thunder out of its wave voice. From the beginnings of the world, it never ceases from flooding, and yet it was never full save on a Sunday. On Sunday, it falls asleep until the thunders of the winds are awakened by the coming of God's Sunday from heaven and by the harmony of the angels above it. All right. I am going to stop there because I just got a few more minutes. And so I'm going to remind you that I did release and publish this text. It took me a long time to be able to format it and to get it all into print so that I could release it with this book. But when I first read it, I remember I was sitting outside in the front of my house, and it was early spring. And when I read what I read on the creation account in Genesis, and the description of the earth being made as a circle, and all the circuit, the luminaries moving in circuit, as we see, as it speaks about in Psalms 19, as we see in the time-lapse photography of the revolutions of the heavenly luminaries around Polaris, that all of these things, even the decryption of the book of Enoch that I wrote about in the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries, which talk about in 12 chapters the movements of the sun and the moon and the stars. The same reason why Joshua was given the authority to stop the sun and the moon, not the earth and the moon, but the sun and the moon. And it's because it is the sun, the moon, and the stars which move above the face of the earth, as Enoch describes, as Solomon describes, as so many people describe. And so when you study this particular text, I believe, especially when you see it in print and you're able to read it for yourself, because it's well over 150 chapters. And so it's a very extensive text, and it covers in great detail, even describing the different portions of the earth, and the circuit of the sun as it moves around the face of the earth, going over these different portions. It's very detailed, very profound. And in my opinion, it gives us a lot of confirmation as to not only the circular revolutions of the sun and the moon and the other stars, but also that the earth is established as a wheel, as what Auguste Piccard described as a flattish disc with upturned edge. And so, I mean, all the revelations that are coming to light that are bringing forth in illumination the details of how the cosmology is really established and situated. I wrote in the introduction or the preface for this particular book that we're past the point of arguing over whether the earth is a heliocentric or a geocentric worldview, that we're now past that and seeking to understand the details of how the structure of the enclosed world system was established by the Most High God. And I believe that in this book, I share a lot of that information with you. God bless all. Good night. Until next week. Shalom.